Thanks for being the first and the only for now. Hopefully that'll perk up. We'll see. This is my first time back on Saturday in a few weeks, so I gotta scrape people back. But we're gonna do it. Since it's just you and your AFK, I think I'll probably just get started and we'll see how it goes. We'll see what we can gather. All right. So let's get to where we left off last time. What am I doing? There we go. So we got Frieren. We got her staff. What I want to do is I want to get her staff in the scene with her. So I'm going to do a quick merge. And then we'll bring them together. I know it is the weekend after the holiday too, so it might be just slow to bring people in. I don't know what the next 2 weeks are going to be like. People just want to lounge. Maybe they'll pop in, maybe they won't. Come here, do the Chica dance? I don't know, man. I'm not even sure. It's about as best I can do right now. But I'm going to bring the staff into the scene for now. And then once I do that, I'm going to bring up the reference that I have for the different ideas for the poses that I want to do. I got a giant staff through her head. Poor Frieren. Yep, that's about the right size right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is, let's see, I have other stuff in. Get rid of, this is definitely one of the poses I'm considering, but I have a better image of this right here. So I'm going to minimize all this other stuff, get rid of some of this other reference that I don't need. Try to bring in just the poses. I might leave some of this facial stuff because I will want to work on her expression too. Excuse me. Throat's a little scratchy. Not sick, thank goodness, but of course right before stream it starts to get a little phlegmy. I just ate food, so excuse me for my clear my throat. Let's see. All right, so I want to bring in import Frieren folder, pose options. Open all this stuff. And I might want to, let's see, I think yeah, I think I need to open up two of those other files. I think it's these two. Cannot complete the request because Photoshop doesn't recognize these file types. Huh. Well, at least one of them opened. All right, I'm going to save this one. As a JPEG, so that way I can bring it into ZBrush. Okay, let's try this again. Import. Oh, wait. Do it. You can see my desktop background real quick. Where did it go? File, export as JPEG. This is the exciting part, I'm sure. If I save it, not in there. Let me see. Save. There it is. All right, let's bring this one in. Let's get rid of this one. So what I was saying last stream is what I want to do really is get a really cool floating pose. But I'm not exactly sure how much action I want to do. And I'm also not going to nail myself down to that as well. While looking for cool floating poses, both stills from the show and other options like different fan art and stuff and illustrations. I did peek a few cool moments from the show that I also liked, so I'm not going to commit to a floating pose just yet. And I'm also not going to necessarily just do that because I still have the Frieren model. I'm not going to make this the only version of it. I'm going to save her how she is right now. This is going to be my base model. So I'll definitely be able to do other things with other poses and stuff with her if I'd like. I'm also considering, eventually maybe to make an action figure out of her because that might be a fun thing for people to see, but we'll see. Right now I'm going to save her with the staff because I haven't done that yet. The staff is saved separately, but I brought it in as a separate element so that way I can pose her with it. So let's get back. So the things I'm looking at right now, there's this main floating pose right here, which is pretty iconic. It looks great. It's simple enough. There's enough subtlety in it that I can get that'll be really nice. And the hair's got a cool flow and shape to it, but it's not super crazy. Another one that I really like that I saw is this one, her kind of flying on her staff. What I might do with this one is I might have some sort of like neat cloud or wisp base so it looks like she's kind of flying through the clouds. I'd probably simplify the hair too, just because this is pretty wild looking. It's super cool, but I don't know how easy that would be to produce. It would be fine to print, but there might be some complications. I'll definitely have to like rework it and redesign some of this stuff. Let's see what else. And there's this. This is a little bit more mid-action. She's in concentration. She's getting ready to cast something. I think this might, I don't know if this is that flower spell that she ended up learning. Spoilers, I guess. But I thought this one was kind of nice too, even though it is not as intense. It's just kind of a cool moment, the way she looked. And then a couple other poses that aren't floating poses or scenes. I got two versions of Frieren going up against herself. And I'm thinking about possibly doing a version of this. One, because it would be pretty easy since it's double Frieren. It's not like I have to create a whole new character. I just have to duplicate her, which would be really cool. So I found this one, and this one is kind of cool. This looks like it's a little bit earlier on in the battle. Frieren's not as battle damaged yet. And then I don't see it in here. There's another one. Oh, this is another cool one. Obviously full body, but kind of her looking off to the side, aiming. I thought it might be cool to make a plate of this magical spell and have it at the end of the staff. That would be pretty cool. That would also give me an opportunity to maybe experiment with some clear resin. I haven't done that with my own printing yet, so I would need to get some clear resin and think about testing that out. So that would be another fun idea. And then also I've thought of kind of a more comical kind of kneeling down after she's dealt with the mimic. For anybody that doesn't know, Frieren has a very, very hard time with mimics. She doesn't ever get it right. She always thinks it's a chest. She always second guesses and thinks, oh no, this time I'm not going to get chomped, and it's always a mimic. It's really, it's a funny bit. And on top of that, there is a moment in the show where after she has been chomped by a mimic, her ward kind of does her hair a little bit, and I thought this was a fun hairstyle. I'd have to redo these hair curls, but it would be a lot of fun, I think. But yeah, so that's all the stuff that I'm kind of considering at the moment. So I think maybe to start, just for funsies, I'm going to, oh wait, I do have another flying pose. It's much like this one. I think it's mirrored, so, or maybe it isn't mirrored. Her staff is facing the opposite way, but she can hold it either way, of course. But, so these are, I might go with this basic one right here. Not necessarily basic, but it's pretty iconic looking. I don't think it's necessarily a moment from the show. This might be some key art that they made for merchandise or promotion, but it really hits the nail on the head as far as her look, and she still looks powerful in this, and there's a lot of subtle movement in the body, so this would be, I think, a fun one, at least to start with. So I think what I'm going to do is get rid of a lot of this other stuff. And then we'll get into the posing process, which miles may vary on that. Posing definitely is a little different. Than the rest of the sculpting process, because it's kind of treating the body like a puppet. And when you have multiple objects, you're competing with all these different elements. And I do like she has a subtle smile here. So what I think might be fun to start is I'm going to find the staff. And I kind of do a little bit of organization here. I'm going to put the staff at the top and I'm going to hide it for now. I'm going to get back to work on her face. I want to kind of get this subtle smile, see if I can get that half-lidded look. Adjust her ears because it looks like her ears are kind of angled down a little bit. And I'm not sure if that's because she can actually control her ears in kind of an animalistic way, or if that is anything to do with just like the wind or the fact that she's up there and her ears are long, so they're being hit by the gusts in the air. She's got a very subtle smile. I'm going to drop down subdivisions to this lower subdivision level. Bring back everything else. Bring symmetry on. Slowly tweak. One thing about the smile, I want to subtly bring her cheeks up too. Because even though you can't really see it in the art, it's there. And I want to try to not make too much of like a point in the mouth. I want to round this out. And then I'll have to go and rework the corners of the mouth because I want those to be nice and clean. But right now we're just kind of moving stuff around. Yeah, put out my notifications, but it's a Saturday after Christmas. I think it's going to be a slow night tonight. Had some other people live viewing, I think, a little bit ago, but we're in the early stages of just looking at images, so they might have not seen anything that they were super interested in yet. Hopefully they swing back around or we get some other people. But unfortunately, they can't all be winners. Looking a little better. I'm gonna try to subtly deal with this awkward transition right here at the corners. Hello. Oh, yay. No, thank you. There we go. Don't need bots in here. All right, so I'm trying to deal with a little bit of this mouth transition on the corners. Smooth that out a little bit. There we go. Right now, then the other part of this is her eye. She's got a subtle closed eye, not closed eye, but a subtle heavy lid. It's not quite a half lid. Now we get the autosave. A brilliant tool, but the bane of my existence. Hey! Hello, everyone, all the newcomers. Good to see everyone. Hope you're having a nice weekend. Hope the holidays treated you well. I see some folks here, but if they don't want to talk, I'm not going to call them out. But I see you, and I appreciate you. For sure. All right, let's bring back the eyelashes. And we're going to turn color off just for a second, just so I can kind of see this a little bit and have a lower subdivision level. I'm just going to use the move tool. I'm going to mask off this corner because I like it. That's not going to move. I think I'm also going to mask off a little part right here by the tear duct. And then I'm going to shift down and out these little bits. Just to kind of get that subtle half-lidded look. I think I'll angle it up just to the ends here just to give a little bit more interesting shape. Let's bring the color back in. Now it looks funky because I got to bring the actual lid down too. Got to find that. Hey, how's it going? Thanks for coming in, Kay. All right, let's bring this lid out. And down to cover that eyeball. It's going to give her kind of like a subtle seductive look for now, which I don't really want, but I think, you know, once we get into the pose, that it'll serve it well. And I might have to tweak it here and there. think what I also want to do is kind of round out. Let's see. Watching from Vegas. Oh, that's super cool. Thanks for watching from Vegas. I hope you're having a good time. Tell everyone that I say hi. And Happy New Year, because we probably won't see you guys until the new year. They say hi back. Yay! Thank you. All right, that's starting to look good. I can probably get it a little bit closer, but I don't think we need to, not at this point. I'm going to flatten out her ears a little bit to get that part of the expression as well. Because elf ears are very expressive, clearly. It looks like they drop just a little bit and flatten out. Especially this, her left side. Looks like the right on screen, but it will be her left, screen right. And then what I'll probably do, because it's going to be asymmetrical, I'm actually going to save this right now, but I'm going to save this as a different file. So I like to keep kind of a base model of anything that I'm posing to go back to if for some reason I need to go back to it at that stage, or if I want to create something different in the future. So I'm going to call this Frieren pose 1. So now, did I say that right, in the right spot? Yes, okay. So now I can always reload the neutral pose with the neutral expression. And now I'm safe with this particular file. Don't have to worry about anything. It almost looks like her ears moving forward a little bit on this side too. So I'm going to mask. I'm going to use the gizmo tool to kind of rotate some bits. It's a little bit easier and nicer than pushing and pulling. Because it looks like the ear is curving down just a little bit. Now, one thing about the posing process when you're making a statue is it's definitely a slower go than it is when you're sculpting and modeling. Because when you're sculpting and when you're modeling, you're just trying to get everything roughly where you need it to be. You're getting the proportions, you're getting the details in. But once you get into posing, there's a lot more subtlety involved. As you can see, I'm just like slightly tweaking these ears, and I'm going to go not necessarily go exactly with the design. Hey, what's up, Hankin? How you doing? Thanks for coming in. Appreciate you being here. One of my first subs. We were gifted a sub by Josh Brown. Fortunately, he's not here. Let's see. Posing it is like having a super articulated action figure. It really is. And it's one of those things where, since you're not limited by where joint placement is, you can kind of do whatever you want. but that also is a hindrance because that just means you can you can grab the wrong thing sometimes. There's nothing restricting any of your movement. But let's see. Yes. Hope you and the fam had a good Christmas. We did have a really great Christmas. It was pretty relaxing. We stayed in mostly at our house and at my mom's house, who doesn't live very far. So just back and forth between those two locations. It is really rainy, or has been really rainy right now in SoCal. So dealing with the rain hasn't been fun. We actually had a leak in this room on Christmas Day, or maybe it was the day before Christmas. Maybe it was Christmas Eve, which is not exciting. It didn't leak too bad. I was really worried, but it kind of stopped, even though the rains didn't stop. So hopefully that's something that we'll either be able to fix real easy, or yeah, leaks are not great. But hopefully it'll be pretty easy to fix. I did go on the roof and put like a trash bag down where I thought maybe the leak was coming from, and I came back in here and went, oh, I don't think that's where it's coming from. But it did slow down, so maybe what I did helped. Maybe something just clogged the leak. I don't know, man. Or anybody that's in here. But yeah, it is what it is. So, but we'll get through. We'll figure it out. But back to what I was saying about posing. There's a lot of subtlety. We'll kind of go through the pose over here, the image, just so we can see. And I'll bring her back to kind of like a full body. So she is in a neutral pose right now. There's no real interest. I do have the feet turned in a little bit, and her posture is pretty straight up and down. But let's see, I'm going to bring up a tool. Let's see if I'll be able to do this. Doop. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. Oh, maybe I need to switch. I'm going to try to draw on this. I always forget. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is look at kind of some of the angles that we have here. So we can already see that her neck, let's bring that up a little bit more. So this isn't the best to draw in, but we'll deal. So just, we got kind of a straight up and down here going through, but we have a slight angle to the shoulders, and definitely this shoulder is shifted forward, which means this one's shifted back. The torso is actually angled a little bit forward. And the hips, even though you can't really see it in the skirt, are definitely going to pivot back at the waist. And then we got this leg coming forward, this leg going back, and the knees are together. And then this leg itself is a lot straighter, with this one bending kind of back and subtly curving around the other leg. And then the arm position is pretty self-explanatory. So we got it. Both of the arms are angled out. Actually, this shoulder's here, not way out here. Both the arms are angled out. The elbow's here. Bringing this elbow up and this elbow forward. This elbow is bent more since the shoulder is positioned forward, so there's it's a lot closer. But since this shoulder is shifted back, there's more room, so that hand is jutting forward, and it's a little bit straighter, even though the staff is pretty much in the same position, kind of flat in front of her. It's not angled out in any particular way. So I'm actually going to undo all of that, so that way my reference is nice and clean. See, she's looking like my uncle right now. And then the hair, I might redo the hair a bit. Not sure. But right now, what I think I'm going to do is kind of subtly mess with the hair to just kind of get it out in that position. And it's going to look probably kind of funny for now. I'm going to drop it down to a lower subdivision level. And these little spindlies of the hair are separate, so I'll have to end up repositioning those separately. But I might create new ones because, as you can see comparatively, obviously the reference that I had didn't have as much detail in the hair. So there's going to be new strands that I'm going to be messing with. So I might actually just get rid of those for now and just get the hair mass where I want it to be. So I'm going to start to straighten these out and then flare them a little bit. These bits I'm going to hide too. And then I'm going to put the gizmo, since I'm working on symmetry right now, I'm going to put the gizmo right there. Hopefully, yeah, there we go. So now the pivot point is the ponytail. I might even move it just a bit so it's where the bands are that are holding her ponytail together. And that'll be good. Now I can kind of pivot all this out, kind of find that angle. And then definitely, since this was flowing over her shoulders, I'm going to have to bring that back. And as you can see, since the hair was covering some of her chest, we got some of the shirt that's underneath poking through her capelet here. So I'm going to bring that forward. Bring this forward. But all of that's going to change over time. And what I'll probably end up doing is, before I start posing the capelet, I'll hide that and I'll pose the arms. So it's all, you know, just little bit by little bit, kind of feeling out what's the best course of action. There's not really a better or worse way to do this. I'm sure everyone has a different way of posing. What's that, Mooney? Let's see. When you move the arms with the sleeves, move too. Yes. Well, yes and no. I can do them separately. Initially, I'm going to want to do them together, and there's going to be a lot of re-sculpting that's going to happen. So the initial sculpt was just to get kind of the baseline of the character and get the feel of it and get the proportions right. And now that we're getting into something like this, all the details are going to change because when the body's twisting, the fabric's going to twist different ways and all that kind of stuff. And you can't account for that initially. So tweaking the folds, exactly. So tweaking the folds is a big part of it, but also just the way everything drapes is going to be different. Even though she's an anime character, the musculature subtly is going to change, mainly in the legs, because that's where like most of the meat of the muscles are visible. You can't really see anything else in the body, so don't have to worry about that too much. But I'll probably mess with the legs to find the knees a little bit more to go along with the pose reference. Might thicken her thighs up a little bit. They seemed not as thick in the initial reference that I had, but I also might have stopped before I got to that point. But yeah, there's definitely some nice curves happening here that I want to get. I don't want her to look too string beanie, so reworking some of the proportions as well of her body. But yeah, I think I'm going to go kind of head to toe for now. And also, I said hey, but I didn't say who. Hey, Mooney Vader, glad to see you on. Thanks for popping in. Hope you enjoy the process. Hope you enjoy watching art. Because art's the best. It's literally what helps me take care of my family. We love art. That's why my category is art stream. So let's see, let's bring her back a little bit. I'm not going to go too crazy with the hair. I want to get it close. Similar to when I was initially working on this, blocking stuff in, I also want to block in the pose. And over time, I'll add more detail, deal with the subtleties, but I want to rough it in first, get it close to where I want it before I start focusing on the details. And then once that is done, then I can kind of go back in and figure out, do I want to continue working with these parts? Would some parts be better served if I rebuild them in this like exact position? That's kind of the luxury I have with doing this for me. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do to start with, so I'm just kind of winging it and having fun with it. Whereas if I was doing this for an actual producible statue at my studio that I work at, we would already likely have the pose, so there would be a lot of things that I could consider already right off the bat, which is nice. Not always, but yes, I would be able to likely have a lot of stuff already kind of worked out. Now it's going to look really funky for now. I'll definitely have to add some volume here because it looks like the hair is a lot thicker in the reference for this pose. So I'm going to start to inflate this just to get it closer to that. Kind of blow it up like a balloon. Then I'll subtly kind of smooth it out to get the shape back. Bring her there. There we go. Yeah, sometimes I'm still getting used to doing this for an audience. Sometimes I bring my model all the way to the side and I'm just working on it on the edge just because of the way it turns. And, you know, it's a thing that you don't have to really think about when you're sculpting in your dark office with no one looking over your shoulder. But I definitely don't want this to be... I want you guys to see what's going on. So for some reason, if I'm ever doing that, if it looks like the model's like in a weird, awkward position and you guys can't quite see what I'm doing, feel free to call me out and let me know, because I don't want you to miss anything that you don't want to miss. But it is something that I've noticed over the years, that sometimes I'm sculpting the figure in an awkward position on the screen, even for me, when it's just me looking at it. And it's kind of funny. I don't know if that's something that other people encounter when doing their digital modeling work, or if it's just a me thing. How was everyone else's Christmas? I told you all a little bit about mine. The kiddo got some cool stuff. He was very happy with his Christmas, which made me happy. I didn't get a ton of stuff, but I'm kind of at that point where I don't really want a bunch of gifts. It's nice when I get something, but it's not something I'm yearning for, which my wife hates, because she wants to get me stuff and I'm always having trouble telling her what I want. She's much better at that than I am. Oh, for those of you that were here when I started working on the earrings, I'll bring those up real quick. These, I did end up finishing them. So here's the finished bite tree cake. And then also the normal one. Let's see, do I have it here? Oh, these are all the different scales. Let's see if I can back this up. So you can see them together. Let's see, delete this. Let's see, yeah, definitely more about the kids and nieces and nephews and adults than adults. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. It was 101 on Christmas Day, and my in-laws don't have air conditioning or ceiling. You have no airflow. Man, not. What about with the windows open? Like, did that help at all? Did you guys have windows open so like was anything moving through? Because that would be horrid. I definitely feel for you. All right, so yeah, here is the finished pair of earrings. So full tree cake next to bit tree cake. I like how they turned out. The wife was happy. Now I just have to get the proper backings for the earrings. And then I'm going to either paint them or have them painted and sealed, so that way they look nice and they last for a while. That's the goal. Let's see. We were out the back and had about 6-foot tower fans set up. Oh, okay, that's good. See the Xmas. Oh, thank you. Yeah, the Xmas earrings. Yeah. I don't think you were here for that stream. Were you here for that stream, Hankin, when I started working on those? I only worked on it for one stream, but it was like the beginning, as I did. I got the tree done and I started on the frosting, but I hadn't done the sprinkles or the bite yet. So, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm really pleased with them. It was something that she asked for last year, but I just couldn't get around to it. Felt kind of bad because she was kind of looking for them, and I basically said, I can do that for you. You don't have to keep searching, because she was having trouble finding ones that she liked. They weren't all that great. So I said, I can do that because I can. And I didn't. But now I have. Let's see. I was there for that one. Get shrink down. Yeah, I could shrink them down. That would be funny. Give Frieren some tree cake earrings. I might do that for funsies. We'll see. Oh, you weren't there. Okay. Yeah, keyboards are finicky. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I know you were around for my first a couple streams. Well, I know you were there definitely for the Odious stream where we were working on the first werewolf head, which was really cool. I still haven't moved forward on the second one past where we were with the long stream where it ended up. This is where it ended up. So this is still where it is. Still want to figure out a better way to resolve the back here. Probably make it a little bit more full and flowy, like the front of the face. But yeah, and then I need to still go in and hinge the jaw and stuff. But I'm not going to start working on that stuff until I can talk to Mr. Wade a little bit more, and we can plan the schedule moving forward into the new year, because got a lot of other parts that we need to work on, mostly accessories and stuff. The heads are pretty much done. The first wolf head is pretty much ready to go. Just got to finish up that one, do the jaw hinging, and then there's a few cool accessories that are planned that are going to be coming into play. Okay, so her expression is pretty much there. And the hair is roughly out where it's going to be. Definitely going to do a lot more to it. And I can also line it up and match it up really close. Right now it's just, roughly putting it in. So yeah, I think now what I'm going to do is go into, you, Hankin, you were asking about moving limbs and stuff together as far as like the sleeves and the arms moving together, because she is a full body at this point. So she's all one piece. Eventually, like, I'll part this out, so engineer it to put it together once I print it for the different parts. But right now, she is all one piece, and all the clothing elements are all separate. So this is her jacket. Like, even the shirt element is kind of a false shirt, so that's a separate element. The different parts of the capelet are separate elements. But what I can do, there's this thing called T-Pose Master. And here, let me do a save real quick, just in case. Always save your work, folks. Often. And so I'm going to do T-Pose Master. Magnify that a little bit so you can see. And when I click on this, it's really cool. It does it brings all the parts together into one model. And it's going really slow right now, so hopefully nothing's going crazy. But we will see. Here we go, yeah. It's starting to move. I had to think a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. Let's get this grayscaled. There we go. Okay. Hold on, I gotta do some stuff real quick. All right, so now they're still all separate pieces or separate parts, but I can move them together pretty strategically. So if I bring up my groups, this shows the wireframe of all the different pieces, and everything is at its lowest subdivision level, so it's not all smoothed out and high detail. The hair kind of looks like that, but that's because it's a pretty high poly count to begin with. And I can do lots of different things. I can hide individual parts. So I can work with certain things out of the way. I can use that as well to kind of mask certain areas. So right now, what I'm probably going to do is going to step that all back, and I'm going to go to the sleeves and mask off that sleeve. And then I'm going to do the same with the arm. And since I'm not on symmetry, I can I can mask off these individual bits that I want to go with the sleeve and the arm, or unmask them on just the one side. And then I can go back in, I can hide the elements of the coat again. But I gotta jump back because I gotta bring back this button. And so now I can go with the gizmo and I can do this. So I can move them together. They look a little funky right now, but that's okay because it's just about getting the basic bits, kind of reshaping things. But I'm not going to do too much work in this particular realm because most of the reworking is going to happen on the main model. But it's nice to kind of fix some proportions at this level. Let's see, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And even though I haven't like positioned the torso yet to match, I kind of want to look and see. Kind of get the head shape lined up just to make sure I'm getting that right. And her shoulders are also raised. So right now, the shoulders that I have are slumped a little bit, so I am going to have to lift that up, which is going to lift up the whole arm as well. But first, I want to try to get the angle here. Yeah. So I'm going to adjust this to kind of match up with the shirt there. And now I can bring the gizmo back and I can kind of get roughly that open angle. And you can see there's going to be more of a fabric stretch in there too. So that's all going to change, but I'm not going to worry about that at this point. What I am going to do is probably just use this. I'm going to try to raise that shoulder up just a bit. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, there's also a bit of a twist to her arm. Oh. So I'm going to kind of mask off the shoulder, make sure that doesn't move too much at this point. And then I'm going to move the gizmo to kind of the center point where her arm would be in the sleeve. And we use that to kind of get a little bit of a rotation in there too. I actually might mask this off. And I can kind of subtly fade the mask too, so there's a little bit more of a subtle twist. And then I think it kind of looks like her elbow goes, try to figure out if the elbow goes forward a little bit or back. I think it goes forward just a little bit. Just going to bring this back up, and I'm going to slowly move this just a tad. And then we'll adjust that in the future as we kind of move things in. As soon as we get the staff in place in front of her, that's also going to kind of dictate what her arm's going to do. Once I get that into a position that I like to go along with the body, then that's going to change exactly where her arms are going to position. Now, just to let you know, in about 2 minutes, ads are going to run. So if you could hang out through the ads, I'd really appreciate it. It's going to be about 3 minutes of ads, though I did discover that some people get less ads than others. And then Hankin, you and I can just hang out for a bit because you are ad-free thanks to Mr. Josh Brown gifting you a sub, a tier 1 sub. So that's super exciting and super cool. Actually, while we're at it, since we're here, I'm kind of in a good stopping point. I'm just going to run the ads, so we'll get through that quicker. So I'm going to run ads. Everybody stick around. And Hankin, if you're in the mood, we can chat a little bit. See y'all in 3 minutes. All right, ads have begun. Yeah, woo woo woo. Yeah, this is going to be the right now. The biggest perk is not having to see the ads. So you get that joy. Make sure to thank Mr. Josh Brown. I'm going to take a drink right now. Was there anything cool that you got for Christmas, sir? I don't know if you can hear my family in the background. They're having a good time downstairs. See, I grew up on free-to-air TV. Ads destroy my... Yeah, no, it's true. Same thing for us. We don't see ads all that much except for when we're watching YouTube and stuff. And we have all the streaming services, and most of it still doesn't have ads, but it's starting to creep in more. And man, it's hard. Oh, we got an H.R. Geiger books. Oh, that's really cool. I definitely would like to get a book of his art at some point in the near future. It was really fun. You probably saw it at some point, but I got to work on Alien Romulus promotional one-to-one alien from that movie that was in select theaters and stuff, and that was just really cool because I've been an Alien fan for a long time, and to get to work on the property in some way, it was really neat. So I would definitely like to explore that book and maybe recreate some of the cool artwork in it in the sculptural form. But yeah, so that's really cool, man. I'm glad that you got a cool book. Let's see, you got about 30 seconds. If anybody is in here and isn't seeing ads, cool, welcome. Thanks for coming in. The ads officially are ending in about 20 seconds, and then we're going to get back to the beginning stages of posing Frieren. I'm hoping that in the next hour I'll probably at least be able to get the upper body close to the basic position. If not the whole thing, that would be really cool. It'd be nice to kind of like cook through it. And then after that, hey, welcome back everybody. Ads are done. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it. We're going to get back to posing. I'm going to roughly bend the arm forward. I'm not going to do too much with it because one, we don't have the staff. So I'm going to wait to do the positioning of the hand and all that kind of adjustment once the staff gets into place. And yeah. So again, I'm going to kind of put the gizmo right there. Let me see if I can find the elbow first. Make sure this is in the right position. Roughly where her elbow should be. And for all of us, the elbow, the pivot point is near the back, like right where that elbow happens. So it's like happening in the center of it, but it's further back. This part ends up jutting out as you go. So there's going to be a lot of adjustments that come into place once we get going. And also this sleeve, oh, that was weird. Just make sure everything's masked. This sleeve doesn't have like a bunch of geometry in this position, so it's going to bend really weird to start with. So I am going to readjust some of this stuff now. Yeah, it's kind of open like this. So yeah, that looks really funky to start with. I'm going to go in. I'm going to kind of smooth out some of these bits and then reposition them. And it doesn't really matter what's going on underneath as far as this goes, but it'll be a guide to kind of help me know what's happening. So when I am actually positioning the sleeve, I'm not doing anything too funky. So I don't have to have this perfect or beautiful. but I do roughly have to have the structure in there, so that way when I'm posing the sleeve, I'm not losing the anatomy. Let's see. Got a bail. It's my bros. Wow, man. Christmas is crazy for you guys. This is your brother's B-Day. I see. Catch you on the next one. Awesome checking the park. Yeah, thanks for coming in, Hankin. I really appreciate you being here. Hope your brother's having an awesome B-Day. Tell him thank you for letting me borrow you for a little bit. And I will see you next time. We'll see where we are. Okay, so let's bring the sleeve back in. So now that I know where the elbow kind of is, I can start to kind of adjust. Oh. There we go. Now I'm going to mask off just this right here, so I can start to move it into place. Once I get it kind of into position, I'm going to try not to mess with it too much. I'm going to stretch some of this stuff out. I have a lot more geometry to work with in the main file once we have all the subdivisions back. So even though it looks kind of messy at this point, it's all stuff that's going to be easier to fix and mess with in the main file. This is kind of like a temporary file where I get to work on everything together in the lowest level. Just so that way I can move things together if I want to, and at the same time, if I really want to, I can work on them separately too, when I'd like things not to be affected by each other. All right, so there we go. There's the first arm kind of roughed in. One thing to notice too, I don't know if y'all can tell, the head is subtly tilted a little bit to her right. So I'm going to do that now as well. Start here by masking everything from the neck down. I'll double check here, just make sure this is good. So now I can put the gizmo at like the base of her spine. Galinda? No. More like Elphaba right now, and she's green. So I'll be able to, now that the head is ready to go, I'm going to or I'm going to unmask not everything, Kevin. There we go. I'm going to unmask everything that would go along with the head. So that way, this all can move together. This is really subtle. Let's tilt it just slightly. She's looking down just a little bit. And I can actually reverse this mask just how it is. And I can get some of the other subtle movements going on. So I just positioned everything below the neck, kind of shifted that right shoulder forward and left shoulder backwards. Do just a little bit more. Also tilting it forward just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. All right, we're going to hide the coat again, or the capelet. Now we're going to start working on the other arm. And this one definitely is, the movement isn't going to be as much, doesn't have to go as far, and also doesn't have to compete with itself as much. So this arm should go a little bit quicker. Let's see. First off, I'm going to just mask off this arm. Or unmask the arm, just mask, well actually I'm going to mask off the arm. And then I'm going to do the same with the sleeve. There we go. Hide the capelet again. It's one of those things where it does feel like it gets a little bit tedious, but it's also kind of zen, going through the motions of the order of operation and moving things in different times and together. Okay, and now symmetry is still off, so I can go in and I can unmask these bits right here that are supposed to go with the arm. Now I can just move the gizmo up to the shoulder. Again, the shoulder's a little raised, so I can bring this up just a bit. And some of that is also just the wind coming up under the capelet, so I don't need to completely raise the shoulder to that position up here. But we'll see. It'll depend, because also there's the element of, in the end, all these parts are going to be plastic, and they need to compete for the same space. So I'm definitely not going to everything be exactly as it would be in reality. Some stuff gets kind of shortened underneath. Things that are out of sight can be engineered to reinforce a little bit more. And things that aren't going to be seen at all can just be ugly. You don't have to worry about them, spend time on them. All right, we're getting to that bit right here where that armpit is a little pinched in just because it was all closed and close together. So now I can just kind of fill in this space, fill out the arm just a little bit more. There's a lot of wind that's going to be flowing through these sleeves as well, so everything's definitely eventually going to be puffed up. So there's going to be a lot of that stuff to consider in the long run. What's also nice is all the parts being together. It does give me the luxury of kind of grabbing things. All together. And shifting masses that would shift together. Just subtly. Gotta be a little bit careful. You don't want to grab everything. Because it's not only about just posing the shapes, it's also about kind of getting angles and lines of action. And you can't get that all by just masking things off and repositioning them. There's a lot of stuff that you just need to kind of like push and pull and tug. In the animation world, there's these rules that we use to give life to things. My degree is in animation, so I do try to apply a lot of that stuff into the things that I sculpt, because I think it still applies, because ultimately you're just trying to give life to these things. And so sometimes exaggeration, doing squash and stretch, line of action. I think a fun example of it in animation is if anybody's watched K-pop Demon Hunters, definitely go back and watch the Soda Pop song. Hey, Josh Brown's here. Watch the Soda Pop song, watch the Saja Boys, and see how their limbs move in different parts of that song. It gets pretty wild. Okay, let's mask this arm off by itself again. I'm going to give a little twist. Josh, if you're lurking, thanks for coming in. I don't know if you were here before or not, but you can probably see in chat, Hankin was in here. He was very appreciative of not having to watch any ads, so thank you again for gifting that sub last week. Or was it last week? I think it was last week. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of a twist at the upper arm here. And then we're going to give about a, not necessarily yet a 90-degree angle. Probably actually going to bring this arm forward a little bit, even though the shoulder's back. And then we're going to mask at this halfway point of the arm. I'm going to try to find out where that elbow is going to be. Then we're going to start to shift this arm forward. And again, we don't quite know where the staff's going to be yet, so I'm kind of just subtly judging. It's definitely below the waist. If you can kind of see, here's where her belt buckle is. So this arm's way up high, this hand's way up high. She is leaning back, so it might be, or because we're looking up, it kind of looks like she's leaning back in this image, but it's really its perspective of us looking up. So it's definitely higher than the belt, but it's probably not as high as I have it, but that's okay. We can fix that later once we position the staff in a place where we like it. Twist this just a little bit. It's going to save on me. It's taking a long time to save this time. There we go. Just the sleeve, just a little bit, kind of move. Oh, where's my, there it is. Make some adjustments on this twist right here. I think again we're going to angle this just a little bit. Sorry if I'm quiet. This is those Zen moments of trying to subtly noodle these things to figure out where you want stuff. But thanks for hanging in. I definitely appreciate everyone being here. Hope this is interesting. It's probably a part of the process that most folks are not familiar with and don't often get to see. Okay. so there's a little subtle twist in her torso. This shoulder's probably back a little bit too far, so I'll bring this forward. Always subtle adjustments. Right now it kind of looks like she's maybe trying to find a dance partner. Right now we can start to check out the lower body. Now I think there's going to be another subtle twist back to the center, but mostly with the lower half below the waist. Because we can see the belt is kind of turned still. Something else we can do, actually right now, let's see. We're going to mess with the capelet just a little bit. Just see if we can kind of position it in a good spot. We're just going to use the move brush so I can subtly shift all this stuff out. Oh, apparently this guy didn't move into the right position, but that's okay. That's going to be an easy fix. So I'm just going to kind of just move this stuff around, kind of look at the reference and see where the flow is, match it subtly. Don't see what's going on behind, so it's anybody's guess. Kind of use the stuff that's underneath to drive some of this action. Don't want to get too crazy into where some of these folds and wrinkles are going to be, because that's something that's going to be better served at a higher subdivision level. So I just kind of want to get the subtle flow going so I don't mess things up too much for future me when I start to adjust this stuff. If I can kind of get it into the right flow, it'll be rather nice. It's going to have to go up just over the arm. There we go. All right, roughly where we want it to be. Not too crazy. Still looks kind of ugly. But that's kind of to be expected at this point. We're just kind of roughing it in, blocking it in, getting things where we want them to be. Obviously, I'm going to have to maybe adjust some size to the ponytails, make them a little bit bigger to kind of match the shape. Gonna have to maybe figure out one might be, looks like this one might be a little bit closer. This one might fall a little bit further back and curl backwards versus this one curling more forward, but curling backwards a little bit. All right. And while we're at it, let's get this back into position. Roughly. Again, I can adjust this later, but I kind of want to just kind of take care of it right now so it's not floating out there in the open. Okay, so it looks like she's ready to dance. All right, now, looking at the lower half of her body, it does make her knees look like they're a little bit higher than my original reference. So just for the sake of that, I think I'm going to adjust the knees just a little bit. See, did I have posable symmetry on? I should have turned posable symmetry on. Hey, how's it going? Welcome, welcome. Is this Bobo? It says I'm Bo. I don't remember. But that's who I'm guessing this is. If it's not, I apologize. My brain is fried. I would love a reminder of who you are, just to confirm, so I'm not thinking you're the wrong person. Let's see, I'm thickening up her calves just a little bit. Hey, okay, good. I got it right. I figured it was you, but it's good to know. It's good to know I was right and not getting the wrong person. Hey, what's up, Erwin? Thanks for coming in. Yeah, we're just posing tonight. This is the start of it. Kind of getting into this pose that you can see off to the left. Basically blocking it in, not worrying about the subtleties of it just yet. Putting some of them in there, but not everything. But yeah, thanks for coming in, guys. It's always nice to have folks from the Wade crew and folks that I know through the Unparalleled Universe realm. And you guys I've both kind of worked with, illustration-wise, so that's cool. Bobo more directly. Hopefully Erwin at some point in the future. Hey, yeah, that's right. Merry Christmas. We did talk a little bit. Hankin was in earlier, as you can see. If you look up in the chat, if you can see, he's got a nice wall of comments up there. We were talking a little bit about Christmas earlier. Mine was pretty casual. It was raining a lot. I know you guys know. I actually don't know. Are you also SoCal area, Bobo? Or are you outside of California? You don't need to give specifics if you don't want to. But it was really rainy here all through Christmas. So that did make it a little challenging, but not crazy. All right, I'm going to flare out this skirt just a little bit. I'm not going to worry about all the folds and stuff yet. I just want to bell it. So that way it's kind of ready for later. You're from Indonesia. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's really, I think what's been really cool for me with getting into the online space and getting to work with Wade is just getting to meet people from all over the place. Hankin being in Australia. It's cool that Irwin's pretty close, so that's going to be cool. Yeah, you're very, very far from SoCal, that's for sure. What's your weather like? Apparently it was 101 on Christmas for Hankin with no AC or fans. But we were cool and rainy here in Southern California. Okay. Let's see. Well, let me take the color off. So that's something that I've had the color on just to kind of help me like look at the different parts and adjust. It helps me kind of pick out different pieces. But right now this whole model is all basically one part just for posing, but I will transfer all this pose information to a model that has all the elements separated. This is just a way to kind of pose everything together. Let's see. Very rainy season 2, but currently it is hot outside. Well, I'm sorry that it's so hot, although maybe you're used to it, so maybe it's not so bad. I don't know how global warming is for you folks in Indonesia, and how if the climate has changed drastically enough, and if the seasons are worse than they used to be. I know they kind of are here. But yeah, hope it was a bit manageable. You said Merry Christmas. Do you celebrate Christmas in Indonesia, or is there something else that you celebrate? Are you saying that because, like, you know, probably the majority of the people here celebrate, or does it carry over? I know Christmas here in the States is a very interesting holiday because it's kind of secular, kind of not. You know, it's feels very Christian based at this point. There's a lot of ties to Christianity, but there's a lot of things pulled from paganism, borrowed from, that we use in Christmas. Plus, you know, in this country, there's a lot of folks that don't practice Christianity, but they still celebrate Christmas. That was me for a long time. We don't need to get into religion and all that kind of stuff, but I've always celebrated Christmas with my family, no matter where I fell on the religion spectrum. So, you know, there you go. Let's see, I'm in it for the presents. That's right. Majority are Muslim here. Second majority religion is Christianity. So quite a lot of celebrating Christmas here. That's cool. That's interesting. Let's see. Oh, that's okay. It's all right that you've been in stealth mode, sir. You know, do what you can do. It's cool that you're here. I always appreciate folks coming to hang out. I like it when folks chat, but just being here, if you're having a good time watching, I like that too. Okay, let's see what I want to do with these legs, because I have most of this kind of roughed in. Let's see. And these days, I'm in it for giving presents to the kids. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. Earlier, I was talking about that a little with Hankin, how I was like, you know, what did you get? I got some stuff, but I'm not really in it for me all that much anymore. Yeah, who doesn't like getting presents? But mostly it was cool to see the kid get some stuff. It was fun for me to give the wife some things. Oh, I did finish the earrings. Here are those. The tree cakes. I know you probably saw them, Josh, because I did post some stuff. I think I sent you a message with something. But she liked them. She likes the smaller ones. Just got to get the backings on. Let's see. I get plenty of shit for the rest of the year. I did. Yep. Oh, that's right. I did see your spam post. I really liked that. I was showing my wife, and I was like, this is really cool. I would be in it just for the slicer. So I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that. But no, yeah, that's cool. You did get some spam, a nice variety pack, and a spam slicer, which is really cool. Yeah, these are the tree cake earrings, the chocolate tree cake earrings that got done. Now I just need to get the right backing to attach to the earrings, to attach to her ear properly. Make sure that I do that right so that way they're not gonna break. And also, I want to get them painted or paint them, so I got to figure out how I'm going to do that. So big steps are out of the way. The earrings are done. They're 3D printed. She picked the size, and I think I can work with that print. I don't think I'll have to rework it and print anything else out. So now I just got to do that. Yummy. I know. Don't they look good? I was pretty pleased with how these turned out. I was just coloring them for fun, you know. Didn't have to do that because obviously when you print them, they don't. See, are you painting them? I don't know. I'm not really much of a painter. I might try my hand at it. But, you know, I might see if there's someone else. I know enough painters now that someone might be able to do me a solid. Obviously, I don't want to have anyone work for free, so I got to figure that out. But yeah, they're super tiny. So I could they're simple enough that I probably could paint them, but she picked the smallest size of the prints. So I'm not sure I could do that. So that is what that is. But yeah, they're done. She liked them. Now I just got to get the second half of the gift done, which is getting them painted, getting the backings on in a structurally sound way. And yeah. There we go. So back to Frieren. Gotta figure out what I want to do with these legs, figure out how to do this. And I don't want to stay on too much longer, so let's see if we can cook through. I think one thing I'm going to do is definitely the ankles are pivoted a little bit forward because she's floating. And even though the legs are swinging backwards a little bit, the ankles the feet are weighed down because she's floating in the air. So I want to at least move them a little bit. I might, in the end, also change the angle of them so they're not exactly the same. But for now, we're just going to have them at a matching angle and then try to get the legs into position. Do this. I try not to. Oh, that's right. Those are separate. Make sure those are fully masked off. There we go. That's nice. Those just a little bit. Maybe even bring toes out just a little too. Exaggerate things a tad. Okay. And then I think we'll just do one leg at a time. So mask this leg, bring everything back. Mask off this boot, flip the mask. Okay, so what are we going to do here? Let's figure out where we're going to place this pivot point. Probably up here. The right spot for the hip. And I'm going to adjust the gizmo so it sits at a proper angle. And we can see the leg is forward and in. So I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to push it forward subtly. We're going to do a little bit of a twist too. Let's see. Are statues generally sculpted in vanilla pose the first time and then posed? Man, it depends. That's kind of how I do it because it's easier for me to create the symmetrical body and then pose it kind of like a puppet. That's just how I like to do it. But there's a lot of folks that just position the body and then build everything on top of it. Like obviously there's going to be a lot of stuff that I'm going to resculpt. That's why I didn't go crazy into the sculpting of the fabric and stuff to begin with. So, you know, it's one of those choose your flavor kind of things. There's not really a right way and a wrong way to do it. I'm sure there's some people that would come in and be like, oh no, that's not a good way to do it, and here's why. Yeah, that's not me. I think it's a pick your poison kind of thing. If you like to get it all going in that pose right off the bat, then more power to you, you know? But me, I like to do the A pose, or like you say, the vanilla pose. Because also a lot of these models, I want to possibly do something else with them later. Or say at the studio, there might be a client that would like us to do something with that character in the future. And if we have that A pose in the banks, then it's easier to start. Then all I have to go to is Pose Town. So it could save time in the future. It doesn't really reduce any time initially either. And also posing doesn't take an incredibly long time. And the reworking is not going to be super crazy either. Like for her in particular, the fabric and stuff's gonna have to get reworked, but that's, you know, that's something that has to happen no matter what. I have a good baseline. So yeah, let's see. I should say museum pose to avoid I guess. I don't know. I didn't catch the negative connotation. But yeah. I personally like to do the A pose to begin with because it helps with consistency with the character to start. And again, then I can also do stuff in the future with this character. Okay, there we go. I like that. All right, we're about 2 hours in. I think I'm going to push. I don't think it's going to take me much longer to finish this last leg, and then I'm going to transfer all this information to my main file, and we'll see how that looks. And also, I'll put the staff into roughly the right position, and then I think that means next week I'll probably be able to start to get the subtleties in and maybe start thinking about the base that I want for the character and start getting the details in. Let's see. Or maybe with vanilla posing can sound bad again. I don't think so, but never heard of it. Yeah. Well, there's kind of two neutral poses that we use. There's the T pose where, you know, arms straight out, and then there's the A pose where the arms are not straight down, they're kind of out and angled out like an A. So that's the difference. That's why A pose and T pose. That's why they're called that. You don't ever really want the arms straight down because, you know, there's coincidental geometry, collision issues. And T pose used to be kind of like the go-to way back in the day, but I think they found that with that, there's a lot of things that need to be affected when you bring those arms back down. So it's nicer to have the A pose because that's the more natural position for arms. And if you need to bring the stuff out, it makes more sense. It moves better that way. But yeah, I think what we're going to do in the meantime, since we hit the 2-hour mark, we're going to run what will likely be our last ads for the evening. Because I'm going to wrap up this pose and then we're going to call it a night. Good Soundgarden song. So hang tight. Going to run about 3 minutes of ads. And for one of my awesome subscribers, Josh, we can just hang out for a little bit. So stick around. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you in just a bit and we'll wrap this up. How are you doing, Mr. Brown? How's your Christmas? I think I'm doing a better job drinking water than I usually do, which is fun. Yes, private party. Let's see, good, tiring. Had my last family get together tonight, so home late. Got it. How's the weather been for you guys? It's been rainy for us. Super rainy. Well, I hope the weather was good for you. I am liking how this is looking so far. I was kind of unsure at the beginning with the upper half. You know, it all kind of comes together in the end kind of thing. So now that this one leg is posed, I feel like it's starting to look a little bit better. Let's see, gross and rainy 2. Were you affected by any flooding or anything? I heard some. I was not affected by it, but it definitely was happening. I know one of our major freeways got flooded at a number of areas. I don't know specifically where, but it was like shut down. A buddy of mine was trying to get to their friends, and they realized 4 hours into their drive that they weren't going to make it because the rains were too bad. It was going to be another 2 hours. And also he realized, oh, because of flooding, that area he couldn't get to anyway. So they had to turn right back around. So yeah, it was pretty bad in some areas down here. Luckily for us, not too bad. It was heavy rains, but we were good. All right, ads are ending, so back to hanging out with everyone else. Hey, and some people already are back. Let's see. We keep that Christmas wet. Yep. Yeah, what about you, Erwin? How was your holiday? Did you have a good time? Did the water affect you guys negatively, or were you able to manage it just fine? Let's see, we'll mask this off and flip the mask. Get back here and find that pivot point again for the hip. All right, again, so these legs are close together, so we're going to bring them in, turn it in a little bit. Let's see, it was nice. We took a shower outside. I hope everyone's holiday was pleasant. Yeah, I think everyone, at least that I've run into, had a pretty good time this year. A nice holiday. It definitely was crazy weather, it seems like, all over. Like Hankin was saying, down under it was about 101 on Christmas for them. So they had a hot Christmas. Where here it was nice and chilly and wet, but I think still nice all in all. Okay. I feel like it's a little too close together. There we go. That's kind of roughly what we want. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this data, this information. Hold on, first let me do one more thing. I think I want to try one more thing. There we go. That's a little better. I think I want to twist this too. There we go. All right, so that's looking pretty good, I think, for our first crack at this pose. Kind of getting everything roughly in the right position. Some of the fabric, some of the costume pieces are where we want them. Kind of mess with the flow a little bit before I take it and transfer it to the other stuff. Eventually we'll get more into the detail and get those specific folds in the right spots, but this is a low poly version, so it's blocked in and looking kind of cool. So right now we're going to transfer, oh, don't forget the torso twist. Yes, exactly. I'll probably do a little bit more of a twist later on, but this is kind of where I want it right now. Let's see, lunchtime for me. Have a wonderful holiday, guys. Well, hey, thanks for coming in. I really appreciate you popping in, Bobo. we're wrapping up right around the end of your break, so you're not going to miss much. I'm going to transfer this information over right now. What I used was a tool called Subtool Master. It's in this menu here. It basically makes a single object of multiple parts into one, so you can kind of pose things together. It's called T-Pose Master. And now I'm going to transfer all this information into the original file by clicking this button. First, I'm going to do a quick save just to make sure that I save all my projects that I'm working on right now. I don't lose any information. And then I am going to move all this to the original file, which is kind of fun to watch. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And then we'll see how much stuff needs to get fixed, because it's going to shift a lot of things around, transfer it to the high poly data, and we'll just get to see all the different things that need to be reworked. All right, hit T-Pose to sub-T. And it's going to think for a little bit. And then it's going to cook through and move each individual subtool. First, it's going to see all the things that are hidden and not hidden. And then it's going to slowly shift all the other bits. And then I tap it in, and there we go. See her in all her glory. Hey, you're late. Oh man, no. We'll have to figure that out. I did put out notifications on Instagram. I had my stories in Twitch. But yeah, it's okay. You know, it is what it is. You're here for a little bit. You get to see the final result, at least not the final result, but the final result of today's stream, kind of where we got to on the pose. Still a lot of work ahead, but the main crux of the pose is in. I'll have to adjust some things to match the reference a little bit more, get more of the sculptural detail in now that she's in the position that I want her to be in, for the most part, roughly. Get all the really cool details that I want to use from this particular pose. But before we go, I do want to bring the staff back in and roughly position it. Let's get that right there. Twist it around. Move it forward. Angle it. And it's definitely a different size from what it necessarily says in this reference. Like, I've seen a couple different times where it's shifted. Actually, this is pretty close. There we go. Twist it in just a little bit. And there we go. There she is, roughed in. We've got the first aspects of getting this thing into a statue. Show the infamous. Unfortunately, I can't do the infamous angle with this because her head is tilted down. It's not gonna work. I did do the meme at one point early on. I probably still will. I'll figure out a way to do it because I still have the A pose, but it's gonna be hard to do with this. But yeah, there we go. We got Frieren. Oh, here, let me get that out of her face. We got Frieren roughly in her pose. I'm going to do some subtle adjustments over time. I might tilt the head back up a little bit. in the reference, her head looks a little bit bigger there, so I might change some of the proportions. I don't know, it depends, because I'm definitely going to change the hair, get the fabric flow going. So as time goes on, that's the fun thing once you get into statues. It does change proportions depending on your reference, because in illustration, even though things are kept on model as much as possible, there's, it's not always exactly on model, and that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it looks a little bit better if proportions are changed, if things are pushed just a little bit, cheated to service the art and to make it look really cool. Also, some of the reference that I might have been going off of might not necessarily been right. These proportions do look really good. Mine don't look bad if you hide. But I do kind of like her head being a little bit larger. So I probably will make her head a little bit bigger in the end. I could probably do that with this right now, but I'm not gonna. I'll do that later. And now I'm going to save this as pose 1. And there we go. Here's Frieren. Almost there. I think rigging, it should do it. Yeah, but I did not rig this. I did this all by hand, kind of like a faux rigging. There are ways to rig in ZBrush, but with ZBrush weighting things, it doesn't really work right. Also, I just never really liked dealing with rigs. Plus, with this, I'm going to have to re-sculpt a bunch of stuff anyway, so it ends up being a little bit faster to just move all the bits rather than going through the rigmarole of rigging and getting all that stuff taken care of when I can just spend the time moving it around. So here we go. This is Frieren in her first pose. I really want to thank everybody who came in tonight, who stuck around. I've been doing Sundays the last 2 weeks, and they've been going pretty good. But it's always a tough thing to do to change up schedules. So I wasn't quite sure how this would go tonight, switching back to Saturday. I was hopeful, but you never know. So thank all of you for swinging in. It's also the weekend after a major holiday, also right before a major holiday. So that is also tough. So I wasn't quite sure if, it would be pretty dead. It was dead in the beginning. Low attendance, sorry. But yeah, no, it's been nice. Made some good progress tonight, and I really appreciate everybody coming through, even if it was just for a little bit. Radius, thank you for being here. Are there any questions or thoughts before I sign off? Wait, can you show the side profiles? Yeah, I can do that. Just do one more save because I'm paranoid. I did do some adjustments to her profile while I was getting the expression in, so I probably need to fix a couple things, but her profile is still pretty much there. Again, it's one of those tough things in anime. I hate how from the profile they have pretty long noses, but noses disappear from the front. So I will need to rework some stuff. Let's see. I always suck with anime side profile. Yeah, and I mean anime is definitely a challenge. It's a very particular art style, and it does take a lot of work and practice to translate to 3D. It's already hard enough as it is illustrating when you are trying to figure out the style. and you're not used to it. It's even more challenging when it's not so much a matter of being not used to it, but translating things that are definitely cheats. There's a lot of cheating, angles and proportions and shapes in anime, and it takes some interesting judgment calls sometimes to translate that information into 3D. But that's part of the fun, it's part of the challenge. So I don't mind it at all. It just takes a little bit of extra think work. And clearly there's gonna, oh, hopefully it wasn't messing with too much over there. Yeah, this is pretty close. I like where we are tonight. With all that, again, thank you for being here. I hope you all had a wonderful holiday, no matter how you celebrated it, whether you celebrate or not. I will be back again next Saturday. That day is, look at the calendar, the 3rd of January, 3rd of January. So come on back. Let's see how much farther we can get. Between now and then, I'm probably going to try to nail down what I want to do as far as the base, what's going to hold her up. But we got her roughed into the pose, and I'm pretty happy with that. So with that, yeah, peace out. Thanks for joining me. If you can, follow me on Instagram. I'm also on YouTube. That's where I put my VODs up after the fact. And I go by KGart82. Folks call me KGart. Some call me Gart. Some call me Cart. Doesn't matter to me. Just as long as you're here. Have a good one. Hope you had a happy Christmas and have a happy new year, because it will be 2026 by the time I see you next. Good night, everybody.